It's the Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. Yes, it is podcast day, and I am super excited. I got a lot to go over. I got a lot on the table tonight. So yeah, let's just rip the band-aid off. We've got football. We've got real football. We have college football. We have NFL football. We got a lot of football to talk about. We got talk a little bit of baseball because it is getting down almost to that nitty-gritty time. It is getting towards playoff time. So we're going to take a quick look at baseball. Of course, we got some news. So for those of you that are watching over on Twitter, over on YouTube, or in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/2K crew, welcome. Happy Sunday. Thank you for having me along with your NFL football. We do have the Ravens and Bills going, which is just getting ready to kick off. So can't wait to get into that. I'm going to share a couple of bets that I have going on that game with you guys and gals. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some news. Now, first and foremost, this has nothing to do with football. But we're going to be trying to do the show on Thursdays rather than Sundays. Same time, just on Thursdays. So from here on out, this will probably be our last Sunday show. Hopefully, Thursdays works a little bit better with 2K's schedule. But I know Thursdays work better with mine. So hopefully you guys and gals that are watching live do join us. There will be a show this coming Thursday. So kind of it's not a back-to-back, but a shorter duration between now and the next show. But I will be going live doing the show on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you guys and gals will follow me over there. But yeah, that's the main news aside from the sports. But let's take a peek here, see what we got. Now, this is something that I was super excited to and intrigued to see how he was going to do today. And I'm talking about JJ Watt entering the broadcast booth. And right when they showed this, I was thinking right along with Cassidy here, Cassidy Wood over on Twitter, Cassidy Wood TV. The Iron Eagle JJ Watt side by side is actually hilarious. How are they going to do Iron Eagle dirty like that? JJ Watt is a giant human being. Flow is fantastic. I know he was worried about that. But other than the hilarity of this picture, and it wasn't just a picture, they showed it live. So for those of you that did watch the Jet Steelers live, you got to see this in full effect. I mean, it was there. It was there. Hold on one second. Thought I was going to sneeze, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, this was actually hilarious. And JJ knocked it out of the park. Knocked it completely out of the park. So kudos to you, big guy. I cannot wait to see or hear and see your next game. So awesome there. And this next one, I kind of wanted to shed some light on something that we talked about. Actually, I think it was just me on a solo show, but talking about the likelihood of Kyle Schwarber winning the NL MVP. And at that time, FanDuel had pretty much just shut down the whole race because Shohei was such a predominant favorite. Now, look at the updated odds here, 2K crew. This is from Just Baseball over on Twitter. There has seen serious movement in the NL MVP race in the past week, and this was they posted this 4 days ago. Shohei Ohtani minus 5,000 to minus 800. Kyle Schwarber plus 1,100 to plus 400. What would Schwarber have to do in September to win MVP? And 2K crew, I caught so much heat on this and so much shit just for saying, do I actually believe that Schwarber has a chance to win it? I do. Is it very, very small? Yeah, but he has a shot to do it. And, excuse me. And the amount of shit that I got just for even suggesting that Mr. Schwarber should be in this conversation was absolutely just the comments on the just the videos and the shorts and the reels and all that shit. it was astronomical, saying how much of a moron I am, and Shohei pitches, and Shohei has a better batting average, and their overall other stats are just so close. It was kind of negligible. Well, okay, if they're that close, then why on earth is there that big? Let's bring this up, because I was the one that I was saying this -5,000 to +1,100 is astronomical when you consider their hitting stats, aside from batting average, are very, very similar. And just now, don't get me wrong. If Shohei had pitched a full season like he did when he won his first MVP, these numbers would be more correct. The -5,000 to +1,100. I would get that totally. But what we've seen is, he didn't pitch the full season, and when he did, he was only going, for the first handful of starts, going 1 inning, 2 innings, and then gradually has ramped up. And I still don't think he's went over 5 innings. But just to come at me and be like, yo, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about just because Shohei pitches. Okay, I get that. But when the offensive numbers are so similar, wouldn't you see a closer gap? Which is what we saw. And that's all that I was asking. Am I secretly rooting for Schwartz to win the MVP? I am. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? No. 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 Even with a lot of the voters having Shohei fatigue, and I explicitly said that when we were doing that show, is I'm not saying that I want Schwartz to win this just because I'm tired of Shohei winning all of them. I think it'd be great if Shohei made a run, and because there's a handful of players that are tied with 3. No one has 4, and Bonds has 7 MVPs. Wouldn't it be something to see Shohei chase that 7 and maybe eclipse it? I think that would be pretty sweet. I really do. Now, again, internet. I'm not saying that Schwarber should be favored to win the MVP. I'm not saying that. What I was trying to get, the point I was trying to get across is it should be a closer race than what it was. Just saying. Just saying. So I just wanted to clear that up and bring some more light to the conversation. So hopefully Schwarber continues on what he's doing, and he still has a chance to break Judges, even though it's in the AL. He's most likely not going to get to the Bonds record, but he could surpass Judge's record over there. So it's gonna be exciting between him and Cal Raleigh. It's awesome. It's awesome. Another guy who's awesome is Mr. Bobby Witt Jr. Again, this is from Just Baseball at JustBB_media. Shortstops in AL/NL history with at least 100 homers, 100 stolen bases, and 25 F4 through the age of 25. Alex Rodriguez, Bobby Witt Jr. Very short list. We may be witnessing one of the greatest shortstops to ever play the sport. And yeah, I could not agree more. Could not agree more. And the fact that Kansas City locked him up as early as they did probably saved them $200 or $300 million. The way the market's going right now, I mean, we're entering into, shortly entering into the offseason where Kyle Tucker is probably the hottest free agent. Is his contract going to start with a 4? $400 million? Is that what we're looking at for Kyle Tucker? And last year we saw Vladdy with 5. Soto with 7. Not saying that Tucker could get into that realm, but simply the fact that the Royals were willing to and were proactive in locking Bobby Witt up is fantastic. Fantastic. It keeps him in Kansas City for the foreseeable future, which if you're a Royals fan, it's awesome. If you're a baseball fan, it's awesome. Anytime that players that are drafted and brought up through, homegrown talent, I think is awesome for baseball. I think it's awesome for every team. That's what your team, your front office is there for, is yes, bring in free agents when needed, but you're supposed to grow your own talent. So this is awesome. This is awesome. Let's get the arbitrary Paul Skeens glazing over. So if you're not into Paul Skeens glazing, either mute me or actually I'm gonna mute myself. Hold on. A sneeze that's not sneezing is very annoying. But this is from Codify. 306 plus innings and less than or equal to 67 earned runs any span of 52 MLB starts since 1920. Bob Gibson, Dwight Gooden, Jake Arrieta, Jacob deGrom, Paul Skeens, and Paul Skeens did it in his first 52 starts, ladies and gentlemen. All of these other gentlemen listed above Skeens did it in one particular time, one particular span of 52 major league starts, not necessarily to start their career. Normally, when you start your career is when you're still working stuff out. You're not polished major league talent. You have your ups, you have your downs. You ride that roller coaster, which most young players do. Skeens hasn't done that. All right, now that we got that out of the way, hopefully that's the last one. So I do apologize. So yeah, this is something that is special because there's 5 players that have done it, and Skeens is doing it in his first 52 starts. And anytime you're on a list with these gentlemen, is something special. You notice who we don't see there. There's a lot of great pitchers. We don't see Nolan Ryan's name there. We don't see Justin Verlander's. We don't see Clayton Kershaw's. We don't see a lot of Roger Clemens. We don't see those guys' names on here. So just to be on this list is something special, but it's even more special to do it in your first 52 starts. But check this out. Let's go a little deeper from Nugget Chef Jay Hay Kid over at Baseball is Dead. Paul Skeens lowered his ERA to 1.89 on the season tonight and is in line to be the fifth in the live ball era to post consecutive seasons with a sub 2 ERA, minimum 23 starts. He's also adding his name to the list of Hal Neuheiser, Sandy Koufax, Greg Maddux, and Clayton Kershaw. And as you saw, not a single one of these gentlemen were on the list prior. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, where are we at here? Another confession. 2 weeks ago, 2Ks and I pretty much buried Justin Verlander. Said that he stunk. Said he was terrible, which he kind of is. But man, oh man, again, internet, thank you for pointing out the fact that we are completely and utterly wrong. Now, we said that when you take 2 months to get your first win, that's not good. That's not good at all. Has JV kind of turned a corner? I don't know. Let's take a look at a couple of these. This is from Talking Baseball. Justin Verlander passes Gaylord Perry for 8th all time on the strikeout list. That's pretty awesome. Earlier in the season he cracked the top 10. Now I think this is the last number, or the last player he's going to surpass, just because of longevity. If he does go next year, I think there might be 1 or 2 more. But I think this is where JV kind of stalls out on the pantheon of strikeout artists. But nonetheless, 8th all time. That's pretty awesome. And this, again, from Just Baseball. Justin Verlander stays hot. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 6 Ks. He's allowed 2 or fewer runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. And this was posted yesterday. So, yeah, JV has... That's the wrong one. JV has... I'm not going to say turn this into a great season, because the Giants aren't nearly what the Giants thought they were going to be, even prior to the Rafael Devers trade. And there's another name that's turned everything around and kind of flipped a switch as of late. But is it too much too late? And I think that's what the case is going to be with this team. I ultimately think that. All right, we got from the productive dude. Good to see you, Turbo. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Good to see you too. Let's continue the pitching talk here, because if you if you would have taken my picks for Cy Young, now granted, preseason to me it was kind of probably the easiest money you could have made if you would have parlayed Skeens and Scooble. You know, I was the first one to say that that was a lock. 2K's instead of taking Scooble, his guy, he took my guy and Garrett Crochet. And Crochet has had a fantastic season, but not nearly the season that Scooble's having. Let's take a peek again. Just Baseball has been on a heater, ladies and gentlemen. So please go over and follow them. Starting pitching seasons in the integration era with an ERA of 2.1 or lower, 11 plus K per nine, and a WHIP below 0.9. That's 0.9, ladies and gentlemen. Two people have done it: Pedro Martinez in 2000, and this year's Tarek Skubal. Again, I guess I was pronouncing it Tariq, and it's Tarek. Thank you for people pointing that out. The Tigers ace is on track to finish with one of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen. And if you look down here, 2000 Pedro had an ERA of 1.74, 11.78 K per nine, and a 0.74 WHIP. And this year's Scooble, 2.10 ERA, 11.1 strikeouts per nine, and a 0.6 or 0.86 WHIP. So that's pretty awesome. And one last news and note to get to another extension for your Detroit Lions. Woodward Sports Network, the Detroit Lions have extended Jamison Williams to a 3-year, $83 million extension with the Detroit Lions. Now, if you are a Lions fan, that's awesome. Didn't really see the production from him today, but we're going to get into the kind of the woes, I guess you could say, of the Lions. And like the thumbnail said, Lions stink. And they stunk bad today. They did. But was it all because of Micah Parsons? Was it all because of Micah Parsons? And I've got a take that's probably going to, a lot of folks are going to hate me. They probably are, and I have zero numbers to back it up, which is probably even worse. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Little teaser, as they say in the business. But yeah, let's start. What the hell's going on here? There we go. Let's talk college football. College football week 2. Week 2. Man. Very weird week. Very weird week indeed. We're going to go over the top 25 scores. Talk about some. There were a couple upsets. One that really sticks out. But you're going to see a lot of scores starting in the sevens. Look like, really lopsided basketball scores more than football scores. And it's, I kind of have mixed feelings on this 2K crew because we saw some great games last week. We saw, what was it, 3 top 10 matchups last week, and we saw 1 this week. And we're talking about top 25 matchups that were in the teens, 2K crew, in the teens. And this week, it's just like, you know what? For the teams, which I get it. You're not going to play a top 25 team every single week. I get that. But to have the build up, have the just, football's back, and then all of a sudden you're going to give it to us. This is what it's going to look like. And then you have Ohio State putting up 70 against Grambling, 70-0. Probably the coolest thing about that is if you did stick around after that game, you got to see the Ohio State marching band and the Grambling marching band performing afterwards. So yeah, it was a weird game. Yeah, for sure, Carter. Yeah, he said it. Ohio State killed him. It was boring. It kind of was. And to be honest with you, if you did not think that Ohio State was going to win this game, and if you're a betting person like I am, we saw a lot of plus 35, plus 30 spreads. Anytime that I get it that, like, the one that sticks out to me is Penn State. Penn State has a massive win, 34-0 over Florida International. Did not cover. And And what's weird to me is, okay, now with Penn State, I can see this to where you don't play Drew Aller the whole game. You don't. You don't. But if you're Ohio State and Sayin, who hasn't been with the team that long, he made his first start last week. And yeah, he went 18 for 19 for 306 and 4 tutties. That's a good day at work. That's a good day at work. But you put up 70. So I could see as a coach, yes, these games are very valuable. Yes, these games are important to see what kind of team you are. Kind of lay the foundation for what's going to happen, further along in the season. I get it. The reason teams have been playing cupcake games forever, and it's not going to change because you call them tune-up games. That's why. And when you're a team like Ohio State, who your quote unquote tune-up game is Texas, that's a pretty tough tune-up. That's a pretty tough tune-up. So just kind of my forethought on comparing last week to this week. And I know with college football you're not really supposed to compare week to week, but the viewing just the product stunk. I mean, yeah, it stunk. We had one important close game, and thankfully that's where College Game Day was. So, and Carter says, what do you think of the Michigan game? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Yeah, I just wanted to touch base on that just to kind of give you and yes, it was even more lackluster because my Irish did not play this week. A very weird week 2 bye. So, which it is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. But yeah, Ohio State 70, Grambling 0. Penn State 34, FIU 0. Number 3 LSU. Excuse me. Number 3 LSU 23, Louisiana Tech, La Tech 7. Georgia 28, Austin P 6. Miami 45, Bethany, whoever the fuck they played, 3. And this Miami team, 2K crew, and I'm not saying that they're this good just because they beat Notre Dame, and I of course think Notre Dame is a very, very good team, but they're playing with a little moxie. They're playing with a little swagger, and I think we're all kind of holding our breath to see when this team gives up a game like they have the past few years. They just give them up when they should. When they're on paper, they're better than who they're playing. And whether it's clock management, whether it's, taking your foot off the gas when you should be just, pounding it down their throat, we've seen that movie. We know how that plays out. So I think a lot of us in the college football realm are just waiting for the shoe to fall. And will it? Time will tell. Oregon wins over Oklahoma State 69-3. Texas, this was one that a lot of people did have circled to be like, okay, Arch. Okay, Bob. You're playing San Jose State. You need to ball out on this one. You need to have a good game against this one. He goes 19 for 30, 295 yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. I do believe he did have another one with his legs, scored 5 touchdowns in the matter of 5 minutes. I think that's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. And I think a lot of us, myself included, when we were talking about Texas in the preseason, they're bringing this guy back. They're bringing this guy back. The whole defense is going to be back. This team is going to be ferocious. And I think honestly, and there was a few folks last year that when 2Ks and I were talking about how we thought that, at the beginning of the season, Quinn Ewers and Arch were Heisman candidates last year. And they're like, nope, you're completely wrong. You're morons. Neither one are going to win a Heisman ever. Which the first one with Quinn Ewers, He didn't. So they were right there. And we were trying to figure out, okay, if especially when Archie comes out and says Arch isn't leaving after this year, he's coming back for next year. And judging from week 1 and 2, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. What we're seeing, especially in the NFL, are quarterbacks in particular that are having NFL success when they have had multiple and many years of starts. And I'll give you two right out the gate. Okay, we've got Bo Nix on one side, and we've got AR-15. AR was a project at Florida. The sky is the limit when it comes to his talent. But we've only seen a handful of starts. Whereas Bo Nix seemed like he played for 9 years in college, had plenty of starts. So they kind of had a better idea as to the upside, what this kid can do, what they can't do. And if you're getting a 23 or 24-year-old quarterback in as a rookie, is that necessarily a bad thing? There's some teams that only want, young, especially the quarterback. Give me a young kid so I can, develop him and mold them and get them to where I want to be or where I want them to be, instead of like, okay, this is what this guy does well. Let's maximize it. Let's turn it into what we as a team can do well. So I think that this is kind of where things are at. So I don't blame. Now, we are also in the age of the NIL to where we're seeing quarterbacks and players all across the board stay longer because, and quarterbacks in particular, because they're making the most money. Is that there were a lot of folks saying that Quinn Ewers was going to come back again this year because he's making more money with the NIL than what he did with his whatever round contract that he got. So is this going to self-correct itself? Probably, but just something to bring up. Something to bring up. What did Andrew say here? Andrew said, "How about that Oregon OSU game though? Or is Oregon worthy of top 5?" I tell you what, dude, Oregon is probably the most slept-on Big Ten team of the year so far. Because ask yourself this: when people are talking about the big teams or the top teams in the Big Ten, Penn State, Ohio State, some people throw Michigan in there, which I think they're not yet. No, we're not talking about USC. We're not talking about a lot of these teams. It's just basically 2 teams. We're talking about Ohio State, Penn State. That's it. Oregon needs to be in that conversation. They need to. And especially when it comes to Penn State, because I don't think they're going to be tested really until October. So when we talk about the strength of schedule, like we saw the team, Ohio State 2v1 come away with a big dub. Penn State's playing nobody. So yeah, to answer your question, Andrew, I wholeheartedly believe that Oregon is and should be in the top 5. Let's continue cruising here. Clemson squeaks one out against Troy. See what Andrew has to say here. I'm a diehard Michigan fan, but I agree they're young and not yet to be considered a powerhouse. 100%. And if you look at what they, Dylan Gabriel had a lot to do with their success, and with him not being there, and I honestly think Gabriel will end up being the starter in Cleveland. But when you lose a quarterback of that stature, that everyone pretty much, Oregon was okay until he got there, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're rolling. So it's good to see that they've, I'm not going to say fixed from within, but have found a quarterback to slot in to kind of keep that momentum, keep that program going. But yeah, let me take a quick peek at the box score here on this one. Yeah, Klubnik has 18 for 24, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick against Troy. The this was a bit. This win came in a 17-point third quarter, um, where the Clemson defense held Troy scoreless in the second half. So this could have been very, very tricky. You know, Dabo, we were pretty much every analyst, every sports talk, everything you're talking, everyone was saying Clemson. This is the year Dabo's back. This is the year that these guys get back on track because their whole defense is littered with first round picks. Their offensive line, first round picks. Klubnik, is he going to go number one overall for there was all of these storylines and didn't look, they lost last week. Didn't look great at all. Didn't look great at all. And I think all of us were saying after last week, okay, yes, Brian Kelly's first big win. He's broken through. He's done it. He's done it. Wouldn't it have been something for that team that LSU beat to quote unquote get back on track, for them to lose to a team like Troy the very next week? Wouldn't that have been comical? But Clemson finds a way to get the victory. South Carolina 38, South Carolina State 10, Illinois 45. Illinois, Andrew, to get back to your point, Illinois might have something to say by the time the season's done in the Big Ten. I don't think they're quite there yet. Bielema's a hell of a coach, and I'd really have to look at their schedule to kind of see, kind of pick and choose, where wins and losses and stuff like that. But they could definitely make some noise. Our first upset of the week: Mississippi State 24, Arizona State 20. Big loss for Arizona State, and probably the most intriguing game of the week. South Florida goes down to number 13. Florida comes away with a dub, 18-16. Now, why is this so important? Well, they beat the brakes off Boise last week, 34-7. Come away with a big win in Florida. And what's really awesome is that for a prize, they get to go to Miami. Two hot teams. And if you're wanting to find that game, it's on the CW network, whatever network that is. But one thing I want to just, I know it's week 2. Or, some say week 3 because we had week 0, but it's technically week 2. South Florida has 2 big wins. And now there's, let's see, I think the AP comes out on Tuesday, or maybe it's out already. I don't know. But two big wins by South Florida. Let's say they go into Miami this coming week and get another win, or just keep it close. Because after that, they've got South Carolina State, Charlotte, North Texas, Florida Atlantic, Memphis, UTSA, Navy, UAB, and Rice. One would think with these 2 wins, barring that they're healthy, they should be favored in every single game after the Miami game. So even if they lose to Miami but keep it close, is this our non-Power 4 representative in the playoff? I don't know. But it is kind of cool to see that most of the big time programs in Florida are relevant, at least at this point in the season so far. We'll see if Florida bounces back. But for those of you that are wondering what conference they're in the AAC. South Florida is in the AAC. So we're seeing the Big 12, even though the Big 12, Utah is putting up a pretty good fight to, but then again, we saw that last year. We saw them get off to like a start like gangbusters, and then all of a sudden they peter off. So I think right now your leader in the clubhouse is probably the Big 12, with Utah. But how cool would it be if this South Florida team, even though I just pumped the tires on Miami, wouldn't it be cool if they went down to Miami and pulled this off? I think it'd be pretty sweet. I think it'd be pretty sweet, even though that loss looks that the Notre Dame loss to them looks even worse at this point. But um, either way, I think it'd be cool. That Miami game should be the game of the week for sure. So yeah, and Andrew, I looked at. The only problem is game day is going down to Tennessee as Georgia travels to Tennessee. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Let's continue down our little recap here. Florida State 77, East Texas A&M 3. Didn't even know East Texas A&M existed. Let's save the Michigan Oklahoma game till last. Iowa State over Iowa 16-13. Baylor gets a big dub over SMU, where neither team decided they're going to play defense, 48-45. Yes, I know there was overtime in that, but anytime you get scores like that, there isn't a whole lot of defense. Texas A&M over Utah State, 44-22. Ole Miss 30, Kentucky 23. This was one of my bets. I took Ole Miss Ole Miss minus 5.5. Had to sweat that one out a little bit. Bama has a get right game, 73-0 over UL Monroe. Tennessee over East Tennessee State, 72-17. Indiana over Kennesaw State. I hope I pronounced that right. 56-9. Texas Tech 62. Kent State 14. And to round it off with the top 25, Utah 63. Cal Poly 9. Excuse me. So let's get into game day going down into Norman, Michigan, Oklahoma. Now, I have to choose my words here very, very well to not come off as a Michigan hater. And I will preface it with this. And I have the bet slip here to prove it. I took Michigan first half minus 1.5. Obviously, it was 14-0 at half. Lost that one. And I did this pregame. And I also took Michigan money line. Lost that one too. So what I'm going to say is not out of the side of my mouth like I'm a Michigan hater. It's just the simple facts, because my money was on Michigan. I even text 2Ks. It's like, you better tell your boys to get their head out of their ass, because this isn't looking good. It's not looking good at all. And I think, let me check the box score here on this one. And I think Bryce Underwood went 9 for 24 for 142 yards. Justice Hayes had a big game, 19 carries, 125 yards in their lone touch in a touchdown. So what I think, to get back to your question, was it Andrew? Carter. To get back to Carter's question, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Michigan were frauds. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this Michigan team, it stinks, they're done. No, not going to do any of that. Not going to do any of that. I think there were a lot of weaknesses exposed. And we're talking about an Oklahoma team that I'm pretty sure, in the grand scheme of things in the SEC, no one was picking them. When it comes to SEC teams, I'd say they're not middle of the road. They're a little bit above middle of the road. We're not talking about, the heavy hitters in the SEC. We're talking about Oklahoma right now. Now, at the end of the season, could this Oklahoma team make it into that threshold? Sure, if they keep playing like this. But I ultimately, what I think that we saw from this game was, inexperience from the Michigan quarterback, which is fine. He was 17 years old 2 weeks ago, 2K Crew. Dude couldn't even vote in the last election. Let that sink in. And he's handed the keys to this car that is the Michigan football team. Now, am I putting the loss solely on his shoulders? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because let's take a peek at the receivers here. McCauley did have a game. He had 3 catches for 91 yards. Hayes had 3 catches out of the backfield for -5 yards. But what I'm getting at is, aside from those 2 guys, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers caught balls. And granted, when you're only completing 9 passes, I can kind of see, you're not spreading the wealth, as the commentators like to say, because there's not a lot of wealth to spread when you only complete 9 passes. But this Mateer kid played well. 21 to 34, 270, a touchdown and a pick. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think that's where the Michigan defense kind of let the whole thing get away. Is anytime that, this is, to me, this stat line was a Riley Leonard stat line from Notre Dame last year. Didn't throw a whole lot of passes, didn't throw for a whole ton of yards, probably going to throw you a pick and a touchdown, but with his legs, he's going to kill you. 19 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you take those 2 touchdowns away, 2K Crew, Michigan wins the game. It's 13-10. Now, it's easy to say that in hindsight, because what would have happened if they, if they didn't do this? But let's take that just right out the window. It seems like the Michigan defense lost track of this dude more times than not, and he was just left to do whatever he wanted. So putting this loss on Bryce Underwood is not fair. Is not fair. And if you were a Michigan fan that thought that this team was going to run the table, I think you were a little delusional. Even though Underwood is a fantastic talent and is going to be one for this year and at least the next 2, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. I think what happened yesterday is Oklahoma was a better team on Saturday. If you play this game at week 10, you might see different results, because Underwood is going to have that much more reps, that much more progression, as well as these receivers. Now, I think with Underwood being there, the likelihood of landing top wide receiver talent is going to increase, because he can throw the ball a country mile. He has a cannon for an arm. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of let him down, is he's been so talented his whole entire career, gets to this big stage, has a massive win week 1, and comes across a defense that is far superior than that one. And you didn't see a whole lot of touch on a lot of these balls. They were just lasers. They were lasers. So with those reps, with that experience, hopefully that touch does kind of translate. And I think then you're going to have a fantastic quarterback. Fantastic. The offensive line really didn't help either. So just kind of my 2 cents. Just kind of my 2 cents. Andy says, I was mind blown when I heard Underwood just turned 18 2 weeks ago. Bingo. And if you watch the game, they said it about 18 times. They wanted to make sure they hammered that home, that Bryce Underwood, just 17 2 weeks ago, Bryce Underwood turned 18 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I get it. So that's kind of our, now I wanted to do a recap on all of these today, and then on Thursday we'll kind of look ahead. I'll give you some picks, and that's kind of where we're going to go this week. So we're not going to do a look ahead, even though we kind of did with with the South Florida. I just wanted to see after Miami who they played. So let's switch some gears and talk about some NFL. NFL. How's your fantasy team? How's your fantasy team doing? Mine's playing 2Ks and not doing so well. Not doing so well. When your number one pick, or I was second overall, or in the number 2 slot. My number 1 pick was Jamar Chase. Having 2 catches kind of is not the day I was hoping for. So not looking good. Not looking good. But my bets are doing good. Bets are doing good. I think the weekend so far I'm up about either 5 or 6 units. So not going to bitch about that at all. At all. So let's run through the games here. Bucks over the Falcons 23-20. Abuka had a day. 2 touchdowns in his NFL start. And Bills Ravens. Bills are up 7-3. Ravens have the ball. Just starting the second quarter. So close game, like we all thought it was going to be. Bengals Browns. This was a game the Bengals had to have, and because A, the Browns are terrible, and B, every year Burrow's been the starter there. They've gotten off to such slow starts that at the end of the year they have to win out and then have some shit happen for them to make the playoffs. And we saw every one of the starters play in the preseason this year. And I'm not going to say that helped because 17-16. But I think if you're a Bengals fan, if you follow the Bengals, and if you're, Joe Burrow did not lose the MVP week 1. Everyone calm down. It's going to be fine. I promise. We'll get through this together. But just to get the dub is the big story. They couldn't start 0-3, 0-4 again, or 0-3, 1-4 again. Can't happen. Not in that division. No. So big win, regardless of the score, regardless of it. It just sucked. So yeah, Flacco throws for 290, and Joe Burrow throws for 113. So clunker of a game for sure, but like I said, what's more important for Bengals fans and Bengal Nation is just getting the win, and you cannot lose to the Browns. That's Andy got to say. I'm losing currently, but still have 4 to play tomorrow. Yep. I mean, there's literally nothing you can do. What you have to do is now you're forced to watch Monday Night Football. That's got to suck. And let's be honest, even though if you didn't have players playing, you probably were going to watch anyway. So it's all good, Andy. It's all good. Big dub for the Colts, 33-8 against the Dolphins. Trying to decide which way to go with this 2K crew. Are we in? Let me know your thoughts. Are we leaning towards this is the revival of Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes? Throws for 272 and a touchdown? Or is the Mike McDaniels era over in Miami? Now, granted, this Miami team didn't do shit in the offseason. Didn't do anything except for listen to Tyreek Hill bitch and moan about almost everything. So is this team done? Is McDaniel's time there not limited? Is this it? Is this the last time we're going to see the cool coach and the joggers on the sidelines? And to be honest with you, I don't know which way to go on this. But one thing I did want to point out here is this was a special day for the Colts. This was almost a must win. Almost a must win. This is from Adam Schefter. For Jim Irsay, the Colts beat the Dolphins for their first regular season opener win since 2013 when Indianapolis beat the Raiders. It had been almost 4,400 days since the Colts last won a week one game. That's a long time, 2K crew. Long ass time. This is from Stephen Holder at Holder Stevenson. Or Steven, not Stevenson. Just a ridiculous stat from our friends at ESPN Research. The Colts scored on all 7 of their possessions today, becoming the first team since 1977 to accomplish this feat. Which leads me to believe that, Pat McAfee was in attendance. We saw kind of, I'm not going to say a standoff last year, but he caught some flack for saying that the building was soft. Players were undisciplined, which is leading to the shitty play on the field. And he's back. And vibes are good. Vibes are good. And like I said, there were so many Colts alumni. Jim Irsay was put into the ring of fame or whatever they call it in Indy. So very, very touching, game and moment at halftime. We saw a lot of the the past stars. Peyton Manning talked. So yeah, that was really cool. Andy says Daniel Jones puts up just shy of 30 fantasy points. Wild. I know. But here's the thing that scares me, 2K crew, when we're talking about this Indy team and Daniel Jones in particular. We've seen this Danny Dimes. We've seen it before. It's how he got the damn nickname. He would play well for a couple games and then just shit the bed. So I don't know where to stand on this. I honestly don't, because every time you try to start believing that Jones is going to play well, he'll have a 3-pick game and only throw for 115 yards. So which is it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I mean, Daniel Jones comeback player of the year? Is that the type of performance we're looking at? It's going to be an interesting watch. Interesting watch for sure. Raiders over the Patriots 20-13. If you're a Pats fan, are you nervous? Pats fan? This was Vrabe's introduction. We saw a lot of video of him getting down and dirty with the players, whether it's on the offensive line, defensive line, regardless, just being more hands-on. And I for one was like, okay, this is, if I was a player, I would dig that a lot. That would be awesome. But on the flip side, Raiders have a new coach too. However, the new coach set a record for the oldest coach ever to coach a game. So Pete Carroll is doing Pete Carroll things. He always does. All he does is win. He wins. That's it. Now, is this going to be sustainable? Who knows? If you're a Pats fan, don't beat yourself up. It's not the end of the world. So Ashton Genty get his first NFL touchdown. That was awesome. Cardinals go down to New Orleans, win 20-13. 20-13. Let me check the box score here on this. I'm curious to see. Kyler only threw for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. Spencer Rattler had 214 yards. So not a lot of offense, even though it was 20-3. So both those teams stink. Commanders beat the Giants 21-6. There's a lot of folks wondering if Jalen Daniels is going to have Jalen Daniels, excuse me. Are we going to have a sophomore slump? I don't know. Starting out the gate doesn't look like it. Deebo Samuel looks like he fits in rather well there. Jags beat the Panthers 26-10. Trevor Lawrence only threw for 128 yards. And I think, because that was one of the big questions in the offseason, what is Trevor Lawrence going to do with this new coaching staff? How is he going to fit in? Is he going to progress? Is he going to become or fulfill that number one overall draft pick? Is he going to get to that perch because he sure as hell paid like it? And he go 19 for 31, 178 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. I don't know. But probably the biggest question about this team was who's going to be the starting running back. And I think that question was answered at least for the next couple weeks because ETN goes 16 carries, 143 yards. However, Brian Thomas Jr. had 1 carry for 9 yards with a touchdown. So I think for at least right now, ETN does have that starting job. So that's if you went that way with your fantasy team, you're probably loving life right now. Probably loving life. Broncos over the Titans, 20-12. 20-12. You know, there was a lot of folks really, really high on this Broncos team. Really high 2K crew. I mean, to the point where they were saying that this team could make a run in the playoffs. Granted, I know it's week 1, but you gotta score more than 20 points against Titans. Sorry, gotta do it. 49ers over the Seahawks, 17-13. We saw. We're seeing Travis or Henry just. That guy is so good. Derrick Henry, he is so good. George Kittle goes out with an injury. I think that kind of, I'm not gonna say it stalled the game, but it kind of did. But good win for the Niners. And the Rams over the Texans, 14-9. Big dub for Matty Stafford. Goes for 245 and a touchdown. I don't need no stinking preseason. Don't need it. Don't need to practice. Don't need it. I got it. Now, you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, Turbo, you left out 2 games. Sure as hell did, because I want to spend a little bit more time on them. Steelers, 34. Jets, 32. To be honest with you, I don't know which way to go with this. Are the Steelers good? Are the Jets good? Both these teams look fantastic. Just one of them had to win the game. And I think the biggest question mark out of all of this is that Steelers defense. The Jets were able to run it right down their throat, whether it was Breece Hall, whether it was Justin Fields, didn't matter. We saw DK Metcalf make a big impact on the game early. This is a fun game to watch. And if these two teams are going to continue to play like this, boy, oh boy. If you're a Yinzer over there in Pittsburgh, or if you're a Jets fan, you got to be stoked. You got to be stoked. Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? 41 or 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, old ass, throwing for 4 touchdowns? Get out of here. Now, do I think that A-Rod's going to throw four touchdowns every single game? No. But I think especially with this one, there's a little bit more built up, a little bit more juice for it just because of the way things ended in New York with him. So I'm sure it meant more to him, and he wanted to ball out and just be like, yep, screw you in your exit interview. I'm just going to go over here and jam it down your throat, which is exactly what he did. All right, let's talk about it. Packers 27, Lions 13. Let me grab the box score. Need to loosen up for this one. Andy says Derrick Henry is popping off. If you haven't, yeah, just commented on it. That dude, it's Father Time usually wins all battles, and I'm just wondering when that's going to happen. His dude's been I saw a stat that he's the leading active rusher in the NFL, and he's been playing for 10 years. This is 10th season, 11th season, something like that. And he still doesn't have more and he still has more rushing or high school rushing yards than he does NFL rushing yards. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. And I have no idea where you would find that stat, but I heard it and it was just like, I need to file that one away. Goff goes 31 to 39, 225 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Jordan Love goes 16 to 22, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. Montgomery has 11 carries for 25 yards. Gibbs has 9 carries for 19 yards. Josh Jacobs pretty much led the way. 19 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. This is a game too. I know there's going to be Lions fans that are just irate and pissed off. I know there's going to be Lions fans that are like, this is bullshit. This team's a fraud. I'm done. I'm done. And for those of you that are Lions fans that are telling yourself that, calm down. Calm down. For the most part, the same roster as last year. A healthy roster. There is going to be now. What shocked me the most was the defensive side. Yes, DC, last year's DC, plug him in New York. Aaron Glenn's in New York. But they promote the linebackers coach, so you would think that the scheme, everything would be very similar. And I don't know if, because we only saw this Lions defense, I think, for a couple games last year before everyone started dropping like flies. So what was this defense supposed to look like? What was it supposed to look like? It's in its entirety, period. And now we're seeing that. And yes, you would think that, okay, with all those starters hurt, a lot of the backups got plenty of reps, which they did. So I was more let down by the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of folks saying that, well, this is a high-powered offense. Jared Goff has thrown for more yards and more touchdowns in the last 3 years than any other quarterback in NFL. I get that. I do. But it's week 1. Ben Johnson, take him out. Put him in Chicago. We get to see what he does tomorrow night. What that offense in Chicago will look like. Is it going to be similar to the one in Detroit? I don't think so, just because it'll look similar. But this Detroit offense is far more athletic and far more, I'm not going to say diversified, that's the wrong word, but are capable of doing more things than and now the Chicago offense might have those same type of players. We just haven't seen it because the team's been terrible. So I probably shouldn't pass judgment so easy, but just going by what we've seen and what we know, I think Ben Johnson is going to be a huge upgrade, but that's neither here nor there because we're talking about the Lions. Now, new offensive coordinator, you would think that the scheme would be similar with some of his signature stuff. But this Green Bay defense just bullied this Detroit offense all game. You would see Jordan Love have plenty of time to go, okay, read 1, 2, 3, nothing's there, dump it. Goff was getting the shit kicked out of him the entire game, which that happened a lot last year too. So yes, I understand that center retires. I get it. Ragnow, whatever his name is. Big part of the offense. I know. But even when he was there, shit like this was happening anyway. So you can be disappointed on either side of the ball. But the one that got me was I was expecting this Lions defense to be even better than last year because everyone's healthy and you're not making a huge system change because the guy you got to replace your guy was already on the staff. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Now, with that being said, like I said, Lions fans, I know I know for a fact that a lot of you are just looking for that rug pull. That for years and years and years, this team has been absolutely terrible. They found new ways to lose football games than they found to win football games. How do I know that? Because I watched them. I watched them. And then the last couple years, we've seen success. We've seen success. You've seen the 0-16 teams, and we've seen the number one seed in the NFC. You pretty much have seen the gamut in the last 10 years with the Lions. And for those Lions fans that are waiting for this rug to pull out from underneath you, where you're going to go back to that 0-16 team, you are absolutely out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. If you thought this team was just going to pick up where they left off and just continue like gangbusters, you were delusional. Delusional is a little bit harsh of a word. But knowing that there's a reason why you lost both of your offensive coordinators this time around is because they're amazing at what they do. We'll see how that translates into head coaching, because not necessarily that's a given. But let's give these coordinators time to work with their guys. As I we all know, the preseason, these guys don't play a lot. And it looked like Green Bay was better prepared than Detroit was. And rightfully so, because their staff for the most part remained intact. But the one thing you cannot deny as a Lions fan, as long as MCDC's there, there's going to be fight in this team. And when there's fight in this team, wins aren't too far behind. So Lions fans, calm down. Calm down. So 2K crew, we're just over an hour here. Let's get deep. Let's get deep. I'm not saying we were all shocked or stunned or whatever adjective you want to use here when Micah Parsons was traded. And there was rumors flying around that the Packers and the Eagles were in on it. Both of them wanted his services. Now, how insanely asinine would it be if they if the Eagles actually made this happen? We talk about the Chiefs and the rich get richer. I think Micah Parsons on the Eagles is almost unfair. Almost. But I don't think I've ever seen a line move like this with a defensive player. This is from Natalie Sparbeck. This is an effing joke. #OnePride. NFC North division winner odds. Now, prior to the trade, the Lions were favored to win this division. Not no mo. I mean, granted, plus 175 plus 180 is not a huge difference. Now, after this game, we're going to see that change because obviously Green Bay beat Detroit. I get it. I will say on this graphic, the one team that everyone is sleeping on is the Minnesota Vikings. Because we all forget that, Sam Darnold balled out last year. Balled out. But would not have had the opportunity to ball out if McCarthy didn't get hurt. McCarthy was slated to start week 1. He was their starter. Sam Darnold was supposed to be the backup. Let's remember that. And with KOC at the helm, McCarthy is going to be a very, very, very good NFL quarterback. So don't sleep on the Vikings. Don't sleep on the Vikings. And if you want to sprinkle a little bit here, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you. Now let's get to, let's see here. This is from Woodward Sports Network over on Twitter. And I don't know who Neil is, so I do apologize. I probably should have taken a little bit more, should have done a little bit more research on this. But he quotes, if Micah Parsons were in Cincinnati, he'd just be a regular, good defensive end. If you're a Dallas Cowboy, you're overrated. He's just a regular player, unquote. Goes on to say Neil believes the NFL world has overrated Micah Parsons. I'll give you a second to kind of let that swirl around a little bit. I might be saying, well, Turbo, he's like a 4-time All-Pro. He's awesome. You're right. He is awesome. He is awesome. But if you look at the pass rushers that got paid, would you rank him above those guys? TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. The list goes on and on. And like I said, for a defensive player to move the line that much, I think is completely asinine. Is Micah Parsons a very, very good football player? 125%. Cannot be understated. He is a very good football player. Is he the best defensive end in football? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think, too, that now, granted, was traded this week. I think he only played a handful of snaps, had a sack, had a couple pressures. I get it. Played well and very sparingly. But when you're just thrust into that, it's like, okay, Micah, go get that guy. He's like, okay, I'll go get that guy. But he went up again. We saw him bully Penny Sewell, who's an all-pro right tackle. So is he good? Yes. Very good. Very good. But here's the part that I'm not, and please tell me where I'm missing the connection. He was on some very bad Cowboys defenses. He was on some very good Cowboys defenses. And now I also know that the quarterback of the Cowboys was not healthy the whole time. I get it. But even when a healthy Dak was there and this defense was playing well, did they win anything? I don't think so. Now, yes, I also know with the Cowboys comes a lot more controversy, a lot more off the field stuff, a lot more hubbub, a lot more news, just because it's Jerry being Jerry. I get it. But maybe Jerry was onto something. We all sit here, kick back and look at draft day and be like, this guy's a fucking moron. Jared, just be the owner. Don't just be the owner. Let the team building, everything else, hire someone to do that. General manager, hire a general manager. Don't do both. Well, in Jerry's world, he is both. And I think a lot of the times we just sit back and be like, yep, this guy's an idiot. He has no idea what he's doing. None. But what if he got this one right? Instead of paying Mike an astronomical amount of money? What if he actually got this one right? And now, like I said, for a defensive, and I know defensive players can take over games. I get it. I know. When I was watching the Steelers game earlier today, they kept showing TJ Watt. And of course, JJ was announcing it like we talked about earlier. And I just running through my mind him taking over games when he was with the Texans. And he was the guy. how many other defensive ends, or he played everywhere. He was on Madden covers, I think. I mean, he was just the guy, like the defensive guy. There was none, especially when it came to defensive line in that era. And there goes King Henry again. He was the guy. So, and maybe it was because there wasn't a whole lot of competition for being that guy. I don't know. But if you look at edge rushers right now, is Micah Parsons top 5? Yeah. Is he the best? I don't think so. I don't. I would take Myles Garrett over him any day. Any day. But that's just me. That's just me. We're calling Jerry Jones an idiot, and people are probably saying, well, Turbo, you're an idiot too. You're an absolute idiot. Are you trying to tell me if the Lions were to make a play at Micah, they'd be dumb? No. And for Green Bay to only have to give up 2 first-round picks, and yes, I know there was another player involved, but 2 first-round picks, that seemed like a real light return for Micah. But I have a feeling there wasn't a whole lot of teams ready to pony up 3 draft picks, whether it be 2 first, a third, and some other stuff, and then pay him, especially this late in the season. I bet you that wasn't the easiest thing in the world to pull off. I get it. So all I'm saying is that, yes, the Packers played a very, very good game today. Is that defense only going to get better once Micah gets in, in the fold, learns the system? Yeah, presumably, yes. But is that one player enough to move an entire line for the Packers to win the division? I don't know. And when it comes to the Packers winning the division, I don't think it comes down to how well Micah plays. It's how well Jordan Love plays. Let that sink in. We've seen very, very good Jordan Love, and we've seen Jordan Love. And if you're going to get more Jordan Love games and really good Jordan Love games, the Green Bay Packers will not be winning this division. Not going to be winning. What you got to say here, Andy? There's a reason I have 3 Vikings players in my fantasy. You should end that fantasy team, because if someone didn't know about fantasy football, this comment reads that you're fantasizing about 3 Vikings players. Just a heads up. I know what you mean. I'm sure everyone else that's watching knows what you mean, but just to be safe, that and I'm picking on you. But yeah, do not sleep on the Vikings. Do not sleep on the Vikings. If Justin Jefferson can have monster seasons with terrible quarterbacks, and I know there's going to be 9,000 people saying J.J. McCarthy never threw the ball in college. No, he did. He did. Sorry, he did. They just didn't need to. They didn't need to. Well, 2K crew, I think we've done about enough here. A little over an hour. Yeah, I've given you a little bit of extra here because we didn't go last week because of Labor Day, and I was going to go live Friday Sunday, but I would have not given you a very good show. Trying to watch Notre Dame, Miami while trying to stream and do a show would not have been productive at all. Because like tonight, I very, very much want to watch this Ravens Bills game. I couldn't even tell you how they got 17-10, but Baltimore's up 17-10, and just can't do that with my Irish. So I would have not have given you the juice, given you what you deserve, which is why I did not come on last week. But yes, again, programming note: we're going to be going live on Thursdays instead of Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern, same time, just a different day. And like I said, we'll look ahead to, and we'll have Thursday Night Football on. We'll get to hang out and watch that too. But yeah, we'll talk about that game. We'll talk about the upcoming schedule for both the NFL and college. So we got you covered. Excuse me. So everyone have a great week, or partial week. Because like I said, I'll see you on Thursday. But everyone have a good one. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.